This is Economic Chat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. A warm welcome to our listeners and a warm welcome to you, Mr. Daniel Steinman.
Thank you, Elsabe.
I'm Elsabe and I will be your hostess on this day, and we are talking about the mid-year. We are approaching the mid-year. We are not there yet. As we all know that, the budget has been laid down for us, but it seems like it was done beginning of the year, but
it was.
We are still approaching.
Elsabe, if I remember correctly, it was tabled on the second last day of February, on the 28th.
Beginning of the year for me is January.
January. Why I remember it, because it's a leap year.
Yeah.
So it was tabled on the Thursday, the 28th, and I think the Friday was the 29th. But that's not very important.
Yeah.
What's important is that we are approaching the midway mark in the calendar year. And we need to recap for our old listeners. They will say, we've already heard that story. But it's very important not to forget it.
Yeah.
That in terms of the calendar year, we are nearly at the middle of the year, the end of the first semester. But in terms of the fiscal year, the government year, we are only at the end of the first 3 months, the first quarter. And why is that? Because the calendar year, obviously, like the calendar, goes from January to December.
Yeah.
The way that you used to talking about time or seasons. But the fiscal year, the government budget year, starts on the 2nd of April, so beginning of April, and it runs until the end of March. And it's to confuse us even more, remember there's also a financial year for companies. And for most companies, that is from the 1st of March until the 28th of February. But if you're not restricted to that, that is basically convention. A company can choose their financial year from whatever month they want. Many companies run from July to June, others run from October to September. It all depends on usually on trading conditions. And to avoid the slack months in January and February. So what we are focusing on is the fiscal year. And the fiscal year, although we are in the middle of 2024, we are only at the end of the first quarter, and it is only the first 3 months, April, May, June, that have lapsed so far. So obviously, the opportunity to make a difference in the economy through the budget has been very little. It's relatively short. And why it's important is because, remember, the budget, from an economics point of view, you see it as pluses and minuses, as various values, as figures. But from an implementation point of view, the budget is the most important policy instrument.
Okay.
Let that sink in for a while. Why do I say that? Policy instrument, because in the budget you identify certain sectors and certain industries, and you allocate certain amounts of money to it. So it means that you use the budget to implement the policy to support what you as a government deem to be priorities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So wherever you put the money, that is where you will see the difference. And this is why I want to point out, or why I'm making this whole issue, that the budget is the most important policy tool, and that after only 3 months of implementation of this policy tool, one does not expect to see dramatic results. It comes gradually. Doesn't happen overnight. And when we in our later talk, I'm going to look a bit at growth rates, because everybody is concerned about growth rates, And in the very last part, I'm going to look at when do I expect significant changes, because I get asked every day, when is this cost of living crisis going to be over? You know, or when can we start seeing the petrodollars? So then I need to tell everybody, wow, starach, go relax. It's not happening overnight. A lot has to happen before we see that. But it's very important to sort of take a step back every now and then at the end of the quarter or at the end of the mid-year, and to see where we are, because we are in a place that is not good for the average citizen. And I can carry on for a whole week. Why is this so? What happened? Because last year we were on a roll. Things were going better and we were looking up. And then suddenly come this year, from the end of January, February beginning, it's almost as if somebody dropped the switch and cut the power.
So true.
You know, and it got really sticky. And it's like, despite our best efforts, we still stay stuck. You know, we don't make progress.
And we will stop that talk for now, and then we'll quickly go for a short break. And once we come back, we will then look at the growth estimates this year compared to last year.